This course, so I did run this course last year, and we went sort of week by week. We did a different section of the cycle, and we sort of delved into it a little bit, and the superpowers and the things that you need to be watchful and mindful of. I've changed it up a little bit this year, mostly because I've done my hormonal practitioner course, which brought in a huge amount of knowledge. I was just going through all of my research and things today, and I was like, I want to show them this, and I want to show them this, and I thought, oh my God, they're just going to be like, no, thanks, Helen, we've got full-time jobs, we don't need all this. So we've mixed it up a little bit. So this is how it's going to work, and obviously we're always subject to going off piste, as anybody who's ever done any class with me knows. It can go either way. But tonight, what I thought I'd do tonight is go through a little bit of the basics. So doing a bit of a refresh for all of the things that we know, and maybe just throwing in a few things that we don't know. So we're going to go through definitely the first two parts of the cycle. So we're going to go through menstruation, and then we're going to go through the follicular phase, because I feel they're two of the phases where a lot's happening. Then we'll see how we're doing for time, because we can always do the other two parts next week. That's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to have a little bit of a chat about perimenopause as well. So it is, the big P word. But as we get into our late 30s, early 40s later, it's something we do have to be mindful of. And I just want to give a little pocket of time for that, because there's some caveats with everything we're going to talk about in terms of perimenopause. So that's this week. And then I'm going to send you off home with a couple of downloads and a workbook. You're excited, aren't you? Sending you home with homework, which I will talk through just as we finish. And at the end of the evening, we're going to do a little breath practice and a tiny little bit of somatic movement, so you can just let it all go and go off and have your sleepy time and relax, have your sleepy teas and snuggle into bed. Then next week, we're going to cover some of my new favourite subjects. We're going to cover the adrenals and insulin and sleep and stress. So yes, the good stuff. So adrenals have been a real interesting revelation for me. The adrenal health affecting our fertility, our perimenopause, our menopause, just our general cycle. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how you can assess your adrenal health and if it is having an impact on your cycle, and also how to make sure it isn't. And then we'll touch a little bit on insulin. So it's interesting when you mentioned wanting to eat toast before your period. Oh, bread, just so much bread. There is very, very lots of scientific evidence to suggest that is normal, and ordering the pizza is not always a bad thing to do. So we're going to cover the insulin, and just how all of that affects our cycle. And then sleep and stress, because they work together and they do affect the insulin and the adrenals. So that's a lovely little subject there. Then week 3, we're going to go into the supercharging element of this course. So we're going to talk about the cycle and your superpowers through each part of the cycle, and how we can actually make the most of that. So whether that be work or play or just socialization, so not too much peopling, but knowing when to people, when to feel sexy, when we're going to be more creative. And I know Megs, I know you do a lot of creative work, and obviously Noah, you do your own stuff as well. Like me, we have to be creative because yoga teachers, we're not just teaching yoga. There's perfect points in our cycle where we can really tap into that energy. And it stops you from wondering why sometimes you just sit at your laptop and think, oh my Christ, why can't I do anything? So we're going to cover that. We're going to supercharge, and we're going to talk about how to exercise, how to meditate, how to eat, how to socialize and work through the whole cycle. And then in week 4, I'm going to cover another subject that's become one of my favorite things, the circadian rhythm, and how that affects our cycle, because there's just so much to consider. We're going to weave that in with a little bit of lifestyle choices. So just around how we arrange our day. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ayurvedic clock and how we can have a really lovely day based on our cycle. And then we're going to just circle back round to a few things to consider preparing for menopause and how the cycle actually prepares us to move into the last stage of womanhood, as it were, and take our mantle as the wise women that we are and lead our society into a beautiful new future. That's my plan. We're just going to take over the world after that. And then after that, we will have opportunity to just jump in with questions, etc. And I will pop in. I always like to pop in a bonus time, maybe a few weeks down the line after we've finished the course, that we can all come back, just have a little check-in and see how you might have worked it into your life, and just see if anybody's got any burning questions after they've had all of the info and tried to put it into practice. So that's how we're going to roll over the next 4 weeks, hopefully all being well.